everybody, welcome or welcome back to BnB Anime. I am Blue, that is Brad. He is experiencing snow.
I know. It's the first time that it's actually seeming to stick this year.
Mm-hmm.
It's great. It's fun. Everybody is like, get the fucking milk and bread. Let's go. You know, it's one of those things.
Sure.
Which I still to this day do not understand why you would go and get the most perishable items whenever you're worried about the power going out and shit going wrong.
Yeah, I feel like most Canadians have a fairly good stock of tins.
I mean, that would be the proper thing, because even if the power goes out in the barn where our wood heater is, I have a stash of green beans and corn.
Yeah.
Canned.
Yeah.
So should the power go out, all I have to do is just walk out there and just set a can on top of my wood heater, and then I will have green beans and corn that I can have for any meal that I so choose.
Yeah, well, I feel like a lot of Canadians, I mean, for Canada, when it snows, it's usually so cold that you can go out and get pretty much whatever you want and then use outside as a freezer. So...
I mean, that's true. Yeah, I forget that y'all basically have a built-in ice box outside.
Yeah, we could do whatever we want with that. So we don't really have to worry about that. But yeah, I don't know. In the UK, it used to be the same way as well, because snow was such a foreign thing. At least in the south where I was, I know that it was more common up north. But even then, it wasn't it wouldn't be like a full winter thing. Like, it's nowhere near Canadian, unless you're in, I guess there's like a couple mountains that get kind of snowy, but I wouldn't still even regard them as like Canadian level, because it's so close to the ocean. So you're getting ocean winds and salt in the air and stuff like that, and it's melting it and making it warmer and all that kinds of stuff, you know?
Yeah.
And I remember on like the very rare occasions where it would snow and it would stick, school would immediately be closed. And that wasn't because you couldn't go to school. It was because the old Victorian heater or whatever was the old boiler that heated the school would break every single time it snowed. It couldn't function. And they couldn't replace it because it was like a historical heater. So it's just this really old, couple 100-year-old, I don't know, heater that heated the school that just would break every single time it got mildly cold. Of course, to us, it was the most freezing weather of all time. But it compared to Canada, it was nothing.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah. And then the army would have to come out and clean all the roads and stuff because snowplows aren't a thing. So they'd have to like get someone to come out, and who's a group of lads with a lot of muscle that can shovel snow? The army. So they're like, okay, cool, you're not doing much. Come out. That's rude. They might have been doing much. I didn't know if they were doing much. But they were like, yeah, you need to come out here and clear all the roads because we don't have snowplows. And even if they did have snowplows, the roads weren't set up to handle snowplows. Like, there's these things called cat's eyes on a lot of English roads, which are like reflecting, like inset, I don't know, bits of plastic or whatever, and you put them in the road so they reflect the lines of the road, so you can see the lines even if the paint wears out, right?
Yeah.
A snowplow would just scrape those up, destroy them, and wreck the road because it would catch it, right?
No, it'd be fine. No snow.
It'd be fine. No snow, no cat's eyes, no road.
Just keep the road painted. It's not that hard.
Just mud. Yeah. So I don't know. And lots of other things, the drainage systems and stuff. I don't know. Like, the roads aren't set up. Plus, also, I mean, you think about like, I mean, my road that my school was on was, it was the two rows of buildings, two rows of houses that were on either side of the street leading up to the school were Tudor buildings. And Tudor buildings are obviously made of wood. And over time, wood warps. And so these Tudor buildings ended up leaning in towards the center of the road, very much like trees do, you know, when you go down a country road and there's trees on either side, and it's kind of like, oh, I'm traveling through a forest of, like, you know what I mean? Going through a portal of trees. It kind of felt like that with buildings because the way that the wood warped over time. I don't think a Canadian snowplow would fit through those Tudor buildings. I think it would take the buildings too.
Yeah, I could. I could totally see that.
Yeah.
And then those buildings are also landmarks, so that's
They
a whole
are.
other thing that can't be fucked with.
Yeah, they're historically protected. You can't do any kind of renovations on them. The only renovations that you can do have to be done in the same way that the building was originally built. So I remember when I was little, they were doing renovations on Canterbury Cathedral, and they were like archaeologists and architecture dudes, architecturists,
Architects?
architect. Thank you. They were working together to renovate and like keep up, like clean up and make sure that it wasn't collapsing Canterbury Cathedral. And it took so long because they were having to make the bricks the same way that the original bricks were made to then stick them on you know what I mean, and clean it all the same way. They couldn't do anything that wasn't not done the way that the building was originally done.
Yeah, no, that does not sound like a fun time
Mm-mm.
at all.
I mean, they were up there having their best nerd life, which we always appreciate here.
Of course. We don't nerd shame here.
No, but it was very interesting seeing modern scaffolding holding up people doing ancient brickwork.
Yeah. I mean, that would be at least nifty to kind of see, I guess.
I'm sure if you go to Europe, you'll see that at some point, because it's pretty similar the way that the regulations work all throughout Europe of like, hey, protect the buildings, so you have to update them the same way that they were built. So, if you go to Europe and you see any renovations on an old building, chances are they are doing it the same way that they were back in the day.
That would be fun, not gonna lie, just to see them probably struggle to recreate stuff like exactly the way that it was done prior.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like these guys, I feel like it's like a specialty of their architectural degrees or whatever. They go into renovating historical buildings, you know?
I hope they get paid more for specializing and stuff like that. You would hope so.
I hope they get paid more. Because
Yeah,
I expect it would extend their time in university, and architects already have to go to university for like 7 years or something.
Yeah, architectural school does not sound like fun.
No.
Although it is technically art school, just, more
is.
advanced.
It's art school, but math.
Yeah, a lot of math and a lot of very like finite math, because you have to learn how construction works and make sure like where to set all the shit properly and all that fun stuff, because otherwise it could go bad very quickly.
Yeah, I've always thought that architectural drawings were some of the most beautiful pieces of artwork I've ever seen. Like, I love blueprints, freaking love them. I think they're beautiful.
I mean, they're just so intricate. Like, everything
are.
is made down to the very finest detail. I've looked at blueprints for $1 million houses, and that is some of the most intricate things I've ever seen in my entire life. So it's really cool to see stuff like that.
Yeah, and like engineers as well with the like the road systems, their blueprints are so cool.
I can believe that.
Yeah, so cool. Like, I would frame them and hang them on my dang wall as a piece of artwork. I love them.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, I mean, I could totally do that. It's one of those things. If I ever build a house, I think I'd want to have my blueprint like framed somewhere. That'd be cool.
Yeah, I think it's sick. Anyway, we're already on a tangent. We're doing Komi Can't Communicate today.
Which is the biggest tangent of a show we could possibly have to tangent about.
Yeah. Komi Can't Communicate is actually one that we've been following on the podcast for a little while now, because we actually spoke about the trailer when that first came out here on the podcast.
And that's because your boy is huge fan. So finally seeing the trailer come out and then see it get animated and done the way that it was done, I was fangirling as hard as humanly possible whenever this came out. And then I fangirled the whole time I watched it. And now I get to fangirl over it during this episode.
Yeah, so if you haven't heard of Komi Can't Communicate, it is, I'm going to give you the synopsis first because I'm feeling out of order today. It is about a young girl who is starting her first year of high school, and she has severe social anxiety, specifically around the act of communicating with other people. I know that that's typically what people think of when they think of social anxiety, but social anxiety does actually encompass a lot more than that. And they do briefly touch on it in the show, but for her specifically, it is the verbal act of communicating with someone. And she is naturally one of the most stunning, elegant, poised people. So she makes a very, very quick impression with her school of being like the night, like the most popular, the most pretty, the most, top of the best student, the best girl in the school. And because of that, that gives her like a element of separation from her classmates, because they're like, oh my god, she's so amazing, I can't touch her. But she also has this level of communication issues, and she's struggling. She's like, I don't know what to do. And then she happens to be sat next to average of average, and he is able to somehow translate for her, and they go on shenanigans together. The duo of average, and silent, beautiful person.
If it tells you how average Tadano is, whenever they do the exam episode, his exam is spot on for the average scores of all of the tests.
Yeah.
Did you pay attention to that whenever it listed off all the scores?
Yeah. And then...
I had a ball with that.
Yeah.
That's brilliant.
And then on the physical exam as well, where it's like, it goes into detail about her physical exam. And then for him, it's just like, was completely average.
Yep.
Just glosses over it. Was completely average. Anyway, before we get into
great.
Spoilers, although I guess, I don't know.
I don't think there's such thing as spoilers for this. I don't think you can really spoil anything.
I was going to say, it doesn't
about
really
the show.
It doesn't really have a huge plot to it. It is a slice of life comedy style show. So the things that happen in there, like the most you could spoil would be like a specific joke. But I don't even think that there are any, like there's not like a punchline, if you know what I mean. Like I can't articulate a punchline and be like, oh haha, now I've spoiled the joke for you. So if you like slice of life, chill stuff, and slight comedies, this is a very comfy show to watch.
Yeah, Komi Can't Communicate is a coming of age slice of life romantic comedy.
Mm-hmm.
The manga was written by Tomohito Oda.
Mm-hmm.
It has run from May of 2016 until present for a total of 23 volumes, which I know all about because my wallet is hurting. Bless you.
Thank you. Somebody's talking about me.
Must be.
Yeah. Yeah.
The anime television series, or, just the show, whatever the hell you want to call it, is directed by Ayumu Watanabe.
Mm.
It was made by Studio OLM and was licensed by Netflix. So pretty much everybody throughout the world, if you want to watch it, it's on Netflix. I think pretty much everywhere. So do check it out. It ran from October 7th of 2021 and just ended this week for a total of 12 episodes.
Yeah. It is. Sorry, I just zoned out for a second because I was thinking about the fact that in Japan, when you sneeze, somebody's talking about you. In England, and I don't know anywhere else, I don't know if this is a North American thing as well. I only know it from England. When your ears burn, it's when someone's talking about you.
Yeah, and it's the same with sneezing in the US as well. It's typically done as one or the other.
So yeah, I always knew it as ears burning until I watched anime, and then I was like, oh, sneezing. Fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it is rated an 8.16 out of 10 on my anime list, or a 4.22 out of 5, or an 8.44 out of 10 on Anime Planet, averaging about an 8.25-ish. 8.25?
That's good enough.
Yeah, out of 10 for both, which is a solid score, although it does have a 5.94% drop rate, which I would consider pretty darn high for a 12-episode anime, but also, as a slice of life, I do give it a little bit more leeway. I find, in general, slice of lives have higher drop rates than action stuff, because you can kind of drop out whenever you want and hop back in whenever you want, or whatever, because there's no like cliffhanger, there's no plot that's like got you hooked onto the story or anything. It's just, if you like the characters, then you tend to like poodle along and watch it casually. So I find that generally people will be like, oh, I gave this one a go, then I got distracted by something else and I never went back to it, so I've dropped it, rather than I actively decided I didn't want to stop to continue watching it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, this show is definitely made for a very specific niche audience, more specifically those of us that read the manga.
Mm-hmm.
Because this show was pretty much a dream for everyone. It's a show that's been asked about for ages and ages.
Yeah.
And the fact that it was finally made is just a dream come true for those of us that stumbled across the manga, got interested, and then, just from there, it spiraled into a fantastic watch.
Yeah. Yeah. And the OPs are Cinderella by Cider Girl. It's only one OP. And you have 2 EDs. You have Sympathy by Kitri for the first episode, and Hikari Inochi by Kitri for episode 2 onwards. So there you go. I actually quite liked the OP.
I figured the OP would be right up your alley. It very much had that Tanaka-kun kind of vibe to it.
I think
it's so catchy. Yeah. It's incredibly catchy, and the art style.
I liked the art style. I thought it was
it's so pretty.
I really liked the way that it was kind of almost like it had been done through an Instagram filter, so it sort of felt like you were watching her like Instagram story or whatever in a way. Which I thought was a really, I don't know if that was just, it was completely just my interpretation, but I really liked that. The way that when I thought of that, it was like, oh, that's cool, because it's kind of like she's slowly making friends, and as she's making friends, we get to see more and more of her social media stuff. And that's a complete interpretation. It's not how that was at all, but I liked that that's what it made me think of.
Yeah, I can totally see that without a doubt.
So I think that's all of our background.
Ready to jump into the fun stuff that is Komi Can't Communicate.
Oh, it's rated a PG-13. I didn't say that. There you go. Now we're done. PG-13 seems high.
I can kind of. I feel like it's because of episode 3 with. Okay, tell you what.
Okay, yeah.
Spoiler chicken hats. Let's go ahead and put it on so we can go ahead and talk about why the PG-13 rating happens. So throw your chicken hats on.
Yeah.
Yep. So with chicken hats on, let's talk about the rating. So in episode 3, our main boy gets kidnapped and threatened to be killed, and the person that also threatens to kidnap, kill him, bury him in the woods also threatens to stab herself with some sharp cooking chopsticks.
Yeah, actually, that character specifically, I think, is the reason why it is rated PG-13, because consistently throughout the show, she is making dick jokes. Yeah.
Oh my god.
Jokes. Yeah. That's
Yeah, she is the sole reason for it, without a shadow of a doubt. The only reason.
It's done in a way, those jokes are the kind of thing that if you watch this when you were like 7, you would not understand. And then you watch it again when you're older and you're like, that was in there? How did I miss that? It's
not gonna lie, this show would be brilliant for anybody that's in like upper middle to high school.
Yeah.
Like, the jokes in this would just hit so well. And obviously, I am a child in my brain, and at heart, and my brain is always in the gutter. So I got a huge kick over stuff like that.
Yeah. No, 100%. That rating is fair. Yeah, definitely.
Yep. It's definitely fair. As soon as you said PG-13, I was like, oh, maybe. But then I was like, oh, yeah.
Because of that one character. Absolutely. Yeah, so I don't think that we need to necessarily go through step by step on this show. So let's just talk about our favorite moments.
Yeah. So just kind of an overview premise of the show, just to kind of give you the overall encompassing idea. So Komi, she has trouble talking to people. Tadano his only thing he can do besides be average is read the room. So he is able to actually communicate with Komi. They talk, they become friends, and she confides in him that her goal is to make 100 friends.
Yes.
That's all she wants to do. That is her goal. And so the entirety of the season is her making, like, I think, 15 friends total?
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
Yeah, whenever she was listing them off in the final episode.
Mm-hmm.
So it's pretty much a step-by-step process of her getting introduced to people, figuring things out, and just, trying to slowly grow as a person from being able to not talk to anyone at all to, at least being able to get a sentence out.
Yeah. And it's also about Tadano, who is just trying to be like normal. Oh, and they also the fact that they go to a private school that had interviews, and in the interview, if you were weird enough, you got accepted into the private school. that just tickles me.
Yep,
And the fact,
every character is eclectic in their own way.
yeah,
Like that's pretty much the entire
which
premise of
makes
the
me
show.
so curious about what part of Tadano made him get accepted, and I don't know if it's
Just the fact that he's average. That's
he
it.
is
Like
the
he's
most average you could possibly get. So they're like,
yep,
he is
that's
so
it.
spot on being exactly average on literally everything that we have to accept him because his eccentricness is the fact that he can get the average score on every test. He can get the average height, the average weight, the average sitting height, the average, I don't know, what was the other one? Eyesight. Average
Test
everything.
grades on his final exam.
Yeah.
Like it's ridiculous just how spot on this dude is with that stuff.
Yeah. And I'm fairly certain his seat is exactly in the center of the classroom as well, which is hilarious.
Yep. Like it's, I think, back row or second to back row,
Yeah.
like second from the left. So it's not dead center. Komi's is actually dead center.
Right.
But he's right beside her.
Yeah, which again makes me feel kind of more like I feel like that's more average necessarily than being in the dead center. If you know what I mean?
Because he didn't have the typical main character seat against the window. No, he is right next to the most popular person in school.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. It's just he's very funny. And
he is great.
Yeah, and his goal is to just blend in, and obviously that doesn't happen. And he makes enemies right away.
Yeah, because this dude gets seated next to Komi, and the second he got seated next to Komi, he became public enemy number 1.
Yes, yeah.
Also, we got female Rengoku in this episode or in the show.
Yeah.
I mean, am I wrong?
I just got umai. Sorry.
Instead of umai, it's temperature.
Yes. Yeah.
That's pretty much her bit.
Yeah.
But oh my god, it was female Rengoku. It was great. As soon as I saw her, I was like, oh, we can't get away from Demon Slayer.
Oh, I just completely forgot. Green hair character with big tits. She's another reason why this show should be PG-13.
Yep, I can see that.
Yeah, she okay, so they make friends, but she's like, no, I can't be Komi's friend. I'm not worthy. I will be your dog instead. And then just like proceeds to just take on this persona by herself. She did this. Nobody asked her to. She was like, yes, this is a good idea. And just
I cannot become friend, I will become dog.
Yeah.
And then we had a pool episode in this. It was brilliant. It was a fun time. However, the entire time that she's going around the lazy river, she's barking.
Yeah, she's like so committed to this bit of being the dog. Just
100%. Like they were gonna go shopping, and she's like, oh, "You're gonna take your dog out for walkies?
Yeah, doggy for walkies."
Oh, it was absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So random tangent, really quick, but I have found another Food Wars-esque show.
Oh,
but for cosplay.
Oh, I'm in.
It's called My Dress Up Darling.
Yeah, I'm in.
Yeah, if you want to check it out, so it's done by Cloverworks. Mm-hmm. So I'm prepared to be disappointed at any given time.
Yeah.
But the second episode dropped today, and I was watching it before recording this because I thought that your internet would still be shit. So I was trying to get prepped to do a winter preview episode. It is pretty much season 1 of Food Wars, just much more well animated. And it's entirely about cosplay. It has those very not so subtle horny hints to it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm here for it. Like the show is great so far. I'm not going to pass judgment because it's Cloverworks and I'm prepared to fuck them up at any given point. But in the meantime, so far so good. So I figured I'd tell you about that because I figure anything that's Food Wars-esque, but the fact that it's about cosplaying, it's something that interests both of us. I figured I'd let you know in case you want to watch it.
I am just looking at it. And
the art style is brilliant.
Yeah, it looks cool.
Also, the OP and ED are great. Like, it's so good. The ED art style is very similar to like the Komi OP art style, but much more simple, if that makes sense. But it's got that like retro, like 70s, 80s neon kind of art style color scheme to it with the blues and pinks.
Mm-hmm.
It's great. It's brilliant. So far, so good. Anyway, what was your favorite scene from Komi?
Well, the one that immediately comes to mind is just so small. I don't know. I don't know. I like this scene a lot. When Komi is in the library and she has that conversation with the baby, and like forces her cheeks up to smile. And then later on, they find the baby again when they're handing out flyers for the school festival, and the baby recognizes Komi and somehow calls her Coco, like without knowing her, like they never had a verbal conversation, so baby does not know her name, but just like makes baby noises, and baby noises happen to sound similar to her name. And then as they're walking away, both Osana and Tadano, thank you, call her Coco, and I was like, oh, that's really cute that she's now has like a little nickname that was bestowed upon her by a baby. I liked that.
Although I will say, I don't think they built upon that enough.
No, yeah, I want.
Like, I think after they called her that, like Komi should have like blushed and like got excited over getting her first nickname. So yeah, I think they could have built on that more. I don't remember if that's a running joke in the manga or not, because it's been a while. Like, I'm waiting till I finish amassing my collection of the manga before I start rereading it. But yeah, I loved that bit so much. I think for me, pretty much anytime she went like full cat-eared mode, like those are just my favorite bits. Like, I love that so much.
Yeah, let me also think. I really like Osana as a character. I like how ambiguous they are throughout the entire show of like getting changed in the unisex bathroom, and just being like, I guess, non-binary or gender fluid or whatever throughout the show, and everyone just like being like, okay, sure, you're just Osana. And I don't know, I thought it was just a fun little quirk to the character that was done in a very playful way. And I think that it really like made the character way more interesting, because you can play with those jokes a lot more, and Osana is generally a little bit flirtatious with everybody, and so those jokes of like, okay, no, you're gonna go to the girls' washroom? No, you're not. Pulling you out this way. Go to the gender neutral one. It was really funny. I don't know. It was very funny. I like that joke.
So I think one of my favorite jokes was whenever Komi's dad walked her to the library.
Oh yeah.
And like how they stop and get shaved eyes, and just how everyone was like, oh, like they look so great together, but they're also being so quiet. Like, I wonder what's wrong. And they both hate talking so much. And then the trip that they went on with like the whole family went on, and then it's just Komi's mom talking the entire time, not shutting up.
Yeah, and one like little bit that I noticed about that was she gave them like a toffee or some kind of candy. I can't remember what it was. And you can see clearly in the shot, Dad, Komi, and you can only catch the jawline of her younger brother, but you can clearly see that even his jawline is moving just ever so slightly. The other two are like clearly chewing, but his is moving. Because I looked at it, and I was like, did he get one too? And he did, even though he's a brooding teenager. He did get one too. And speaking of him, another really funny joke was when they went to the maid cafe, and her brother came in, and all the girls were like, "Oh my god, you're amazing!" Puts on throne, and he just leaves because he's uncomfortable.
Also, just the fact that she was put on such a pedestal, that she was put on a throne, was absolutely great. I love that.
Oh, and that one character that's just a complete ditz.
Oh, what was her name? Kaede or Otori.
Yeah, and goes to the hardware store and tries to go in the staff entrance, and is just like getting lost and speaks really slowly. Yeah, just away with the fairies.
Yeah, just another just eccentric character.
Yeah,
and then Onamine. With her getting close to Tadano, and then it's like, oh, is something going to happen here? And then she just gives away to Komi.
Yeah, well, she's just like, are you getting bullied? I'm concerned about you. And then it was like, oh, wait a second. I realize what's going on here. Okay, all for you, girl. You go for it. It's like, yes, and then, I like this.
Yeah, and then the fact that Komi actually felt jealousy.
Yeah.
Like, character development. The amount of character development in the show is extremely heartwarming. Like, I can't speak highly enough about just how much I enjoyed this, and just the subtle character development that you get throughout it and how everything builds. It's brilliant.
Yeah. I feel like if you like slices of life, slices of life. If you, how do you pluralize slice of life? If you like slice
Just
of
anime
life,
technically doesn't have a plural. Anime is anime. So I think it's just if you enjoy slice of life, then this is
animes,
for you.
and if you enjoy, yeah, if you enjoy the genre slice of life, I don't know what I'm going on about. If you enjoy,
Like
enjoy
out of the
it,
two of us, this is definitely my show. Like this
yeah.
isn't necessarily for you, but because of how much you enjoyed Tonica, I figured this would be right up your alley as well.
Yeah, it's definitely like Tanaka, I would say falls comedy first, slice of life second. This I would say falls slice of life, then romance, then comedy.
I feel
Um
like the romance and comedy kind of go hand in hand. Like I feel like it's a
Romantic
true
comedy.
romantic comedy
Yeah.
instead of it being like one and then the other. Like it's a true romantic comedy, even if like the romance isn't necessarily there, if that makes sense. Like there's subtle hints to it.
Yeah.
Like I think Tadano and Komi both have feelings for one another, but it's definitely
The
not
ship has
like
not
full
sailed.
on. Yeah, and it probably, at least up to the point of the manga where I got to whenever I was reading it, it never did. And I
Right.
don't think that's ever the plan for it either.
So it's just flirtatious friendship. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, I love that concept. It's very similar to A Silent Voice, where I'm glad they didn't take it down the romance path because it kind of ruins the story that they're telling. I think with this one, like the cute little flirtatious moments of where neither one of them can like say the other's first names, even though they both want to, and
And
cute
swapping
little
phone
moments
numbers
like
being so
that.
awkward. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I agree. I don't know. I wouldn't mind seeing more romance from them, but I also wouldn't mind things kind of staying where they are. It's just that I worry about once this is like if this becomes a multiple season anime,
Oh,
like if
season
they end
two's
up
already been announced
right.
for April of this year. So
Okay.
we're
So
going to
if
be
they
doing
end up
season two before the year's over.
yeah. So if they end up with like a third season and a fourth season, I worry about it being kind of redundant and unless something happens with the plot line, I feel like it could get kind of stale because just of the fact that it is the same thing over and it's a slice of life, nothing happens. And more slices of life are always going to be made, right? So it's going to lose the feeling of being new and fresh and fun and end up being like to some people it's going to end up being a favorite and they're going to go back and watch it all the time. And to the people who are casually watching it, which is where the vast majority of your numbers are coming from, it's going to get pushed to the side by other slice of life that are going to be new. So I think that by making it leaning more into the romance would probably do better for numbers if you're looking at a numbers game later on down the road, or doing something more plotliney with the show once you have the characters established. So something like I don't know, going on a school trip and having we got stranded on a beach or we got lost in a bar. You know what I mean? Like something a little bit more substantial would
I mean, every slice of life has those
yeah.
moments at those plot points. Like there's always a school trip. Like I'm sure that'll come up in a second season.
Mm-hmm.
I think like there's always something
But
along
then
those
yeah, there
lines to kind
needs
of
to be
progress
something.
plot points. But one thing I will say though is I do think like seeing Komi and Tadano go on a date.
Mm-hmm.
Could you imagine how awkwardly brilliant that would be?
Yeah, agreed. And that's the kind of thing that you need to tease is the kind of the connection to the characters. Even if they don't ever fully establish the relationship, I feel like things like going on a date or Tadano maybe going on a date with getting wrapped into going on a date with somebody else that it's not like a real date or whatever, and then Komi gets jealous and follows along the whole date and then ends up at the end of the date that she finds out that it wasn't legit, and then she never tells him, that she followed him along this whole time, and they go back to normal. Those kind of things that like progress the emotional relationship between them, also progress the
Mm-hmm.
emotional connection that viewers have with the characters. And so I think leaning more into the romance will help keep numbers up consistently through later seasons. But because otherwise I feel like it's just going to get swept under the rug by other new slice of life with the same premise. It's a very simple concept.
Anybody who sweeps this under the rug is wrong. That is just my opinion.
Yeah.
So at me in those comments if you want to. You can find me. I'm not that hard to find. You know where to find me. Come at me. I can assure you, I am prepared for anything you have to throw at me. But those people are wrong. This show is brilliant, and I love it. And one more funny bit is every time Komi has to go and order things for Najimi, because and just how everyone reacts, because she doesn't know how to order, and everybody's like, oh, I've been at this job for so long. I am the most brilliant person ever. I can figure out what she wants.
Yes.
And it's wrong. And then Komi is too afraid to say anything.
Also, when she goes into Subway and the girl goes, hello, how are you today? What can I get for you? And Komi just turns around and walks out. Could you imagine being a worker at Subway and just seeing like beautiful goddess person walks into your store? You're like, oh, hello, how can I help you? And they just turn around and leave. Like how, like I would think about that moment.
And then she turns back around and comes back in.
I know, but I would still think about that moment for like, be like, what did I do? Like,
yep. Like that would be ingrained in my brain forever.
Yeah.
And just how she doesn't speak. She just looks down at the menu and points.
Oh,
and she's like, oh, what kind of bread do you want? What kind of toppings? This, that. Do you want it toasted? How do you want it?
Too many questions. Overloaded. I thought of another joke that made me cackle. When Tadano at the maid cafe dresses up as a maid, and then his sister sees him and takes a picture of him, and then gets on the phone with his mom and is like, hey, did you see the picture of Tadano? Yeah, you were right, he is one of those. And it's just left like that. Just like, he is one. Yeah, you were right.
Oh my god. Dude made a brilliant maid though. Like dude made an absolute brilliant maid.
Yeah.
Even if everybody knew it was him and thought he was average, I was like, damn.
Yeah.
Like they did well with that animation style on him and changing him up. It was great.
Mm-hmm. Oh, the keychain swap was really cute.
Oh yeah, that was adorable. That whole thing of like them going and getting their pictures taken together was brilliant.
Mm-hmm. And the Hanabi festival, where Komi tries to write in the dirt, I enjoy spending time with just you, and then before she chickens out before he can read it and like swipes it away.
Yeah, it was great. I enjoyed that.
Yeah.
The show's adorable. I love it. It's a great and fun time.
Competition girl who just like shows up whenever there's any slight chance of holding a competition.
Yep.
That's really good.
Yep. Oh, and then how she's like, oh, it's a tie. Even if she lost at pretty much everything. She's like, I just want to win one. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, like
then she also had a really positive message. Like, even though she was shorter and a little bit heavier, she's like, fuck it. Who decides if these are, make you better or worse than the others? She's like, I'm just me. And I'm like, that's a positive message to send. You go, girl.
Yeah. And she was like, what did she say? She was like, there are places in the world where I would be considered attractive. And I was like,
yes.
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah, you do it.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I hadn't thought of the fact that the way that they measure height at least in this anime, I'm assuming that that's just standard for how they do it in school in Japan, but they measure your standing height and then they measure your sitting height to see how much of your proportion is leg and how much of it is spine, which I thought was really interesting because we would only measure standing height.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is interesting how they do that, and I think it also is just kind of there to like check posture and whatnot as well.
That makes sense.
But yeah, that was really cool to see. And also how they do eye exams and whatnot by seeing like which way a thing is pointing. Like that's incredibly interesting compared to the system that we have over here with the letters.
Yes. Yeah.
That pretty much wraps up all I got to say about it.
Yeah.
Because I can't gush. I mean, I've gushed about it literally the whole time. Like it is without a shadow of a doubt in the running for a lot of different things this year for the Anime Awards.
Yeah,
I enjoyed it. It was a great time.
I feel like we need to add a new category of best ship, because last time we had best couple, but these guys aren't technically a couple, so I feel like we can add in best ship, and that opens us up for a few different options throughout the year because they don't necessarily have to be together.
Yeah, we're going to argue about stuff this year, considering all the categories that we're coming up with.
Yes, we are.
It's going to be great come the end of the year. It's going to be brilliant. We're going to have a fun time. But yeah, as far as ratings go, can you guess?
Are you giving this a 10 out of 10?
Yes.
There we go. Best ship, Komi Can't Communicate.
Yeah, for me, it definitely sits out of 10 because there's nothing about it I would change. It's exactly what I wanted out of the anime as someone who's been clamoring for this to be an anime ever since I first read the manga. Like, I would change nothing. Like, to me, it is perfect in every way. Every character is done as they should be and as they were done in the manga. The shots of Komi being Komi with the cat ears and the facial expressions and everything else are just brilliant, and they captured it perfectly. So I have zero complaints whatsoever about this at all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I am. You guys know that I'm a little bit more tougher on shows than Brad tends to be. I really enjoyed the show. I think it's a very solid slice of life. I think that the romance elements in it were just teasing enough, but I think it's one of those shows that I'm going to prefer the second season of rather than the first season, because second seasons tend to be more like shit happens in second seasons. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I liked a lot of the jokes, but I found that some of the jokes didn't hit as hard as some of the others. Like, there are some jokes that really stick out in my brain of being like, that's a solid joke. Other ones were like, eh. And so I found there was a very slight inconsistency there. I liked the OP, I liked the ED, I liked the characters, I liked that it was kind of like adult in a lot of its humor. Like, I feel like compared to Tanaka-kun and other slice of lives that we have watched, this is probably the most adult humor, which I thought was a refreshing concept. So I'm feeling like this is a solid like 8.5. Like, it's a really, really good slice of life comedy thing. I'm thinking that the next season, I have high hopes for the next season. I think the next season is going to be like a 9.5 for me. If it keeps up with this.
And of course, I have high hopes going into it as well. And yeah, you're right. You are a lot tougher on things. And I feel like a lot of that may have to do with whenever I really like something, like I kind of put the blinders on for. But at the same time, whenever you really like something, I'm the one that has to kind of be critical about it. So it's a very interesting dynamic to kind of hear your thoughts on it. Because like I said, out of the two of us, this show was pretty much built for me.
Yeah.
Like, this is everything I would want out of the show. So it's interesting to hear your thoughts on it. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to cover it so much, is I wanted to hear like an outsider's perspective on a show like this. Because if we didn't do the podcast, I didn't see this being a show that you yourself would go after.
No, I don't think it's one that I would have clicked on myself. That being said, you can find this on Netflix if you're curious. I was meant to say that earlier, but didn't. So yes, Netflix.
Yeah, I think I said it, but in case you didn't miss, or in case you missed it, Netflix. I highly recommend the show. The show is for pretty much everyone within the 13 plus range. If you're a parent and you are worried about some of the jokes, do watch it for yourself. But I don't think that there's really anything just truly harmful or triggering about the show.
No.
So
I feel like it's one of those ones where, depending on the maturity of your child, it would depend on whether or not you should like let them watch it comfortably. Because like I said, a lot of the jokes in here, if they're not like, if they haven't already understood if they don't already understand sex, they won't get the joke. They won't actually even see that it's a joke. They'll know that something happened, but then they'll be like, ha ha ha, and then they won't understand it. Like, very much like if you're a kid and you watch, like, I don't know, Monty Python or something, like, a lot of the times the jokes just go over your head.
Yeah.
And so I feel like this is the kind of show where a lot of jokes will just go over a young kid's head. That being said, if your kid knows and you don't want them around that kind of stuff, then maybe don't let them watch this, or watch it first and see. And then because of the like very like a one episode brief like murder death thing scenario, maybe give episode 3 a watch through. Yeah. It doesn't get worse than that. Yeah, I don't know. It's I feel like it's fine. I feel like very comfortably you could let a 15-year-old watch this, like just chill. It's the 13-14 year range that I think you would have more of a depending on the child thing.
You see, I feel like for me, like 8th and 9th grade, it would be fine.
Yeah.
As long as your child kind of knows and understands everything. So I do feel like the 13 plus rating on it is kind
fine.
of spot on.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, whenever you think 15, you're thinking sophomore in high school. So whenever you put it in the perspective of like where they are grade wise, I think definitely an 8th or 9th grader could watch it comfortably.
I agree.
So,
it just, I feel like I've still got that like image of the one girl in my grade who was just completely oblivious to all this kind of stuff. And I'm like, okay, so for her sake, you know, there's always going to be a couple of kids that just don't know until older age. So you know your own kid, you know what they're like. Yeah, I think it's fine.
So one more question before we wrap this bitch up.
Yeah.
Did you cringe or skip forward whenever the Dragon Force girl came around?
I skipped forward.
I called it.
Yeah. Yeah, I skipped.
Oh my gosh, that's brilliant. I love that.
Yeah. Yeah, I did actually. Yeah, there were a couple occasions, but I didn't. And then I'm thinking like, oh yeah, no, definitely skip that. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, because I got to thinking about it whenever I watched it. I was like, Blue's probably going to skip this. I would bet money. I didn't know if you were joking at first whenever you said it, because it sounded like you were going for a bit, but then I was like, no, she actually skipped.
Yeah, no. Well, I mean, she's like horse girl. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah. There was a horse girl in my grade, like a horse and a dragon girl.
Yeah, you've talked about that. Yeah. That's a throwback to whatever episode that was.
A long time ago, I think. Yeah, there was a horse girl, there was a dragon girl. Because horses and dragon heads draw very similarly. Like the skull shape is very similar. So you can,
one's just a lot more pointy than the other.
Yeah, if you know how to draw a horse head, you could draw a dragon head, or vice versa.
So get to work on those details, kids, so that way you can tell the difference. Ding.
Yeah.
So I got one extra thing to plug this week before we get into our normal plugs.
Okay.
So your boy was on a podcast here recently.
Yes, he was.
So I was on the Doken Win podcast where Hayden was absolutely lovely to have me back on because our first episode got corrupted. So we did it again.
Ooh, fun.
So it was fun. It was cool just to sit down and talk anime and a mobile game. For those that don't know, Dokkan Battle is a mobile game that's free to play. It's a gacha game. If you enjoy Dragon Ball, it's kind of a fun time. If you're like me, it's very easy to spend money on games like that. And I've spent a lot more money than I care to count on that game. So yeah, but we went on there. We talked about that. We talked about anime and kind of my journey through anime and talked about this podcast a lot because I tell pretty much everyone about this. This is the highlight of my week.
Yeah.
Other than seeing girlfriend, you listen to this. You're the highlight of the week. But yeah, this is such a highlight of the week. So I couldn't go without. I couldn't shut up about this. Pretty much, I couldn't shut up about anime.
Yeah.
In general, so it was a blast to be a part of that. So I do highly recommend going to check out that episode or just checking out Doken Win, period. You can find it on Spotify and YouTube at DOKKAN_win, or I think it's just Doken Win without the underscore on Spotify. I don't know. I forget. I am an idiot, but you should be able to find it. And like I said, go check Hayden out. He's a cool guy and it was a fun episode.
Yeah, and we'll be sure to put the link on the Instagram as well and Twitter.
Yeah, and I'll put it on the on the YouTube video as well. I'll be sure to link it there.
Yeah. Speaking of Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube, we're at BnB Anime on all of them.
Quite literally everything. Yeah. And then I am at Brad Carter Gaming on the Instagram and Twitch. And you can also find Blue at Blue Lavender.
STM.
Yeah, that's it. STM. Yeah. I was like, it's ST something, but my brain just completely blanked. But yeah, you can find her on Instagram and Twitter at Blue Lavender STM. And then she's on YouTube and TikTok at Blue Lavender. So you can find her there. I also have the TikTok where I watch the videos at Brad Carter Gaming, I think. I don't know. Also, the podcast actually has a Twitch channel now at twitch.tv/BnB Anime. So you can check us out there as well. I'll probably be streaming on that at some point whenever one of my super secret projects actually gets finished because I have fun plans.
Yeah.
For that.
Speaking of the YouTube channel for the podcast as well, I have been recording some footage of fun times that I've been having out here in Alberta. To be honest, not much has happened because it's been so cold I haven't really been able to go outside much, but I did get some mountain footage, a little bit of snowboarding footage. Our GoPro corrupted, so didn't get very much, but a little bit. But I got some mountain footage, got some nice drives, so I might do some little like bits there, and then I will probably vlog my travels back to Toronto as well. So I have a little bit of a travel vlog going up on the YouTube channel. Just some casual behind the scenes of my life as a art student / voice actor / podcaster.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
Also, whenever this goes live on YouTube the following week, or for those that are actually listening to this on other platforms where you get the podcast first. So, if you want to hear it early, check us out on Apple Podcasts and Spotify and all those other things. Just saying. But for episode 100, whenever it goes live on YouTube at 9:30 EST on the 30th, we'll be doing like a huge premiere type thing.
Yeah.
For it. So we're going to be live in chatting and just shenanigans is pretty much all that it's going to be. Episode 100 is just going to be pretty much a reintroduction of Blue and myself talking about things that we've learned, how we've grown, things that have happened during the time of this, and just pretty much being a fun chat between the two of us, being entirely banter because, you guys seem to enjoy that. That's the biggest thing we get feedback on, is people loving the banter.
Yeah. And I think that's everything. Yeah. If you're on YouTube, you're a week behind, you're listening a week behind. So if you want to get early access to the podcast, then you can go ahead and listen on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, whatever. And yeah, next week, what do we got?
We have episode 100.
We do have episode 100. That's what I was going to say.
Yeah, so it's pretty much just going to be banter the whole time. And then the week after that, we have the Killed Slimes for 300 years. So we got another isekai coming up, and it's a female lead isekai that neither of us have seen. So it's going to be cool to see the different female side of isekais and kind of see that perspective and how well it was done. The artwork that I've seen for it looks great. So I'm looking forward to it. What about you?
Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to it as well. We're having a bit of a slimy month this month, so that's fun.
Who doesn't enjoy a little slimy time, though?
Yeah, slimy times. That's such a innuendo.
It's only an innuendo if you take it that way.
I think everyone took it that way. Yeah, if you have any recommendations for what we should cover, including new stuff that is coming out this year, or news that you want us to be updated on, shows that are just releasing, manga that is getting new chapters dropped, new volumes dropped, things that we haven't heard of, things that are not on our radar, let us know in the DMs, on YouTube comments, wherever you can get to us, on the website, www.bnbanime.com. Wherever you can get to us, let us know about what you're interested in, what you're liking, what you're enjoying. Let us know about anime, manga, video games, anything nerd. We love to know about. We love to know because, of course, obviously, it's so hard for us to keep up with everything. There's so much stuff to do. We need like a specific person to research for us because, so much content is coming out constantly. And we'd love to hear about your favorites.
Yeah. Speaking of news, random thing, but Among Us is getting a manga.
No way.
Yeah, it's getting a manga, and I think that style of storytelling would actually be cool as hell.
It would be.
For a manga, like the amount of suspense thriller that you can get away with something like that, I think it's going to be brilliant if they do it right.
Yes. Yeah.
But yeah, I figured you'd find that interesting.
Yeah, definitely. I wonder if they're going to put faces under the suits.
God, I hope they do a JoJo style art rendition of it. Please, please give that to me. Oh my God, I would love that so
JoJo.
much. Jotaro, Dio.
Exactly. Yeah. Anyway, we're going to sign off before we do more tangents.
Yep. So thank you all so much for listening. Blue and I greatly appreciate it. Next week is episode 100 with the and amusing introductions. But until then, we'll catch y'all next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.